Welcome back to Zero Player, a zero-player puzzle game, which is just this entire image. This is all it is, but of course, if you zoom in, it suddenly feels like this massive experience. But in that video, and also in my server and such, and discussions about this game, it's rather mixed whether people think this is a good medium for this kind of game, or it should be an actual game. But meanwhile, people who have played it say that there's some things that make it forced to be in this format. So we're gonna see how true that is. Also, as I'm recording this, one of the inventors of this made a blog post about the experience of making this. Also, the idea of looking at a different puzzle games like trailers that were also similar is super relatable here. Okay, I thought I'd add this quick recap section from the first video. I think it can be quickly summarized. So you can move tiles, tiles can conduct power. If you ever get power in this circle, it is effectively a new power source. There are gates that can be opened and closed by getting a block to be powered. Of course, the block that powers on and off the gates is pretty obvious. You can make a loop out of blocks that counts as a power source as long as that loop is not destroyed. And finally, there was this intentionally tedious puzzle early on that is kind of meant to emphasize the image nature where you can picture the events that need to happen. That is enough to consider it solved. All right, let's get into the new gameplay and the fully finished playthrough. So this wire is white. I actually flood filled it white because that is how it was at the end of last video, and now clearly I need to move this. So the main mechanics of this game are to move these and then turn on power. So we're going to activate those. There's also a section up there, but we're going to head to blue for now. So I see that this needs to move down, but it overlaps this white as it's going down. That shouldn't matter right now, though. We're still going to activate this. Now, all of these three I'm going to move down. Well, of course, I'm actually moving them one at a time. There's actually no multi-move. Like, that's not a confirmed mechanic. But I'm just saving time by moving all these down at once. And then these go in this dead space down below. I guess, like, this is a little bit misleading because the wires disappear. So move this past so I don't overlap them. And now here. Okay, here. Now, oh, I see here. This is nice. You put this here. This activates, but there's this passage at the top, which is intended to be like, you have to move it around because I bet like the thing this is trying to implicitly teach is that you can't go over this because it must like blank the wire and turn it black. And so we need to go through here. Note that there was no wire underneath. I'm not like missing anything underneath. There is no wire here. But we've established in the previous part that this is like a checkpoint that stores power. So that's why we're allowed to do that. Okay. Let's see. Where does this go? Into here. I guess we just swap their positions, right? Okay. All right. So we stored this here. This piece goes up here. I need to make a special selection type for this. But like you put it here. This piece then moves down. And you have a bunch of steps just in order to do this and have the connection work. Okay, into here. Okay, well this obviously needs to head into one of these. However, if I just do this right now, what is that power? Probably doesn't even... Yeah, it powers something that's blocked, so I need to have this. And there's a circle there, so once I do that, we should be able to get it. It's likely that this goes, like, down and through into here. Remember that this is a wall. Now this gets shoved into here. And remember, this is a wall. Then move this up. Wait. And then this piece goes down and through into here. That's, oh my god, that's so cursed looking. Yes, it does overlap here. Remember that this is a wire. And then I'm going to go and mark that because now the wire is coming. I guess this should be black now because there's no connection here. And now this is white. To save myself some precious toad time, I'm just going to say it's obvious you could undo all those steps and just make this move, but remember that we powered this on. We literally just powered this on, so this gate is down now. So we can go here. Weird thing. And also, of course, there's this section. Oh, that looks cursed. But remember there's looping as well. As in, you can go here. Okay, so we gotta imagine this is powered on now. And as I walk, as I move this, let me just turn this white just to make it more clear, and turn this white preemptively because, as you can see, when I move this down, they will become powered. And when I move here, the loop is still powered during the movement. So I think that is the idea here. We've established in the previous part as well that a loop like this is a stable power source. Like, it doesn't break just because it's no longer connected to the left side. So here... Oh, okay, so these parts are going to combine now. Like, I will need to solve this section and this. We'll just start here first. But I'll save this to the background layer so that we don't forget, even if I, like, overlap this and then move it again, it'll still be behind. Okay, but again, multi-moving is not a canonized mechanic yet. Like, I haven't, there's no confirmation that such thing is actually true here. So we're gonna just move these one by one to show. So here, when it's not powered yet, I will now select this part. I know, I'm sorry, the cutoff here is not good here. This will power the lower section, which I intend to keep powered on. And I'd like to note that this is still a loop, no matter how much I move it. Like, the black at the back, I'm gonna color those white in the background, so you can... And since here's the background layer, and sorry, I'll have to remove that black, but anyway, like, the idea is... This would be so much cooler looking if, like, this black got overlapped with white. But then the whole point is, in this section, it's still a enclosed loop. So I'm able to make this move while keeping the power source of the loop on. And yeah, there we go. So you can see that... Okay, well, hold on. I need to actually move this bottom piece upwards. But again, it's still an enclosed loop. So we have this... Here, here, here. This is all powered. Okay, and one of these gates is down. Next, here, this should look simple, although the fact that this block can move is something terrifying about that. It doesn't seem like this is very blocked off at all. Anyway, I think it's just that I select this piece, and I can move it down here, and then this piece moves in here. Right? Why is this one connected to the wall? Anyway, let's power that on. This should power this. How do I get power into this section? Oh, this can move out. Yeah, okay, it moves out, which is what we need. Okay, so we can... Okay, well, I shouldn't walk through walls here, but you can bring this here, and also bring this piece down and through here, which can freely move through. We're gonna move those back later on, but this is to activate this checkpoint over here. This also needs to move away. Oh, and over here, we're going to need to move this back over here. There was a wire underneath that. It doesn't matter. Just so you know that we're not breaking anything with that. And here, this moves here. And even though there's no more wire between here and here, we do have the loop here, so it's totally fine. And then this, of course, moving this part is not the difficult bit. This one obviously was to move here, and then this one moves here. Wait, I'm so bad at this. Okay, that's where the small piece comes in, which we needed to add in the loop early. I love how, like, the more I cut these off, the less coherent it all is, but, like, here, move this into here. Okay, now this moves down, then move this one, then move this one. Of course, this is not white at the moment, but now we move this back in position. Okay, and with that mess done, we have this, and this checkpoint is on. And of course, undo all of that, because now the checkpoint is on, we can undo all the moves to get these back in position. There. But this will be on, and the gates are also on, so now we can progress. Okay, here. This couldn't be more obvious that this goes here. Wait a minute! Okay, curse. So that's not on the grid line. Okay. Alright, let's move this, make a loop as well. Okay, now... So we can just choose to move this, like, anywhere we feel like it then? Is there a reason there's two, though? Why do we have more lines than it seems? There wasn't any, like, half wall that would be making, like, specific grid offsets, I think. Okay, we're just gonna continue on. I hope that's not a mistake. But here... I mean, surely we're not just counting black pixels because the bottom of this is black, right? I mean, like, for example, here, we had a very obvious height difference. So I was like, well, we're just gonna assume that connects, because otherwise, what the hell do you do? And there's no way that that's even further of a trick, as if it was like, like, no, right? That's just stupid. So for this, like, there's no way to make any progress other than just being like, well, I guess this moves down and connects to the bottom, and is like, otherwise they're just stuck here forever. And then you move this, and then this is allowed to connect. Well, I don't know. I don't know that's necessarily the only flavorful explanation of that, because what if it's like you can power it on while it's below it? I don't know, it feels suspicious. I'm just gonna like superposition, like, we gotta assume that this must work. Even though I don't know the specific cursed details, like I can't choose between the two. Whether it's the edge is black and therefore it connects to the middle, or that it's going underneath, which I think it's less likely to be underneath, but God, this is getting cursed. Alright, this goes here clearly. Into here, into here. There's been a lot of checkpoints. I think no, there's okay, I understand. There's something a little bit more to this that I need to go. It's not that we can keep things at half locations. It's not that, but it's kind of close in the way that it's cursed, which is that we needed this loop because what we're doing is we're moving this here, and then we're imagining that this is like moving this way, and in the process of moving this way, there is a position in which it's halfway and can go over here and activate the loop, but it never ends up at a half position. I think that is the reason why there's so many checkpoints in between. And like, I looked here and I was like, okay, this is way too easy if it's like just move this here and move this here. Yeah. Okay, that explains this section too. Okay. So yeah, okay, first of all, this goes, and then in its halfway point, this is triggered, but it cannot stay halfway. This is now nicer because we need to fill in these. This also works on the other side too, but you need to fill those in, and then with one of the other pieces, you do this in halfway, and now this checkpoint works. But again, it's just make it very clear that this piece cannot actually stay on a halfway. And what is this? I mean, it still feels really weird to do this move, to be honest, but I guess during this point, it instantly triggers, and then, but of course the move has to be finished, because, we gotta role play that it's a finished move, and then same thing with up here, where this can go, at this point, when this is moving up, this triggers. Okay, so for this, we actually need to make sure, well, no we don't. No we don't. This one still moves here, because there's a checkpoint right here, so the power source stays. Okay, now what? This is weird. Now looking at it, that's really strange. Is there multi-push or something? I don't think so. Like, imagine multiple pieces moving at once, and then you could do this, but... And what is with all these random other pieces? Moving has felt like it's been pretty instant so far, right? As in, like, when things update. And certainly when this update... At this position, how is this ever gonna be here? With the current idea of the design. I guess it must be some sort of moving at the same time rigidity. Okay, we're gonna grab those and put them on a separate layer, because I need to visualize this. So here, I think it's gonna work. This is like the only reason these pieces would be like this. Okay, so multi-push just got confirmed, didn't it? Okay, awesome. So, now, by pushing this piece specifically, I'm able to get simultaneous motion, and during this step is where it's connected. Ow! Okay, sorry for the flashbang, everyone. Okay. Excellent. Now I can move this across the halfway to well, I guess this is valid, but it's a little bit cursed that, like, you look at this and you realize that, like, the half is... This does not connect. But, like, it connects from this position. There is a valid one, so I'm going to mark that as on. What's on this side? Also I can turn that on because you can also move halfway from this position. Okay. Oh, we got circles in the ground now. Okay, let's just trigger this. Activate. Well, I guess that one isn't staying activated for that long. But what is even going on up here? What is this gate even doing? Once again, it's connecting into the black. Hmm. Hmm. I don't know what to say. Like, this is not on, but like, the things that connect into black are so suspicious. This image is also cut off because I don't want my computer to lag based on an image, as was what actually happened in the last part. Oh, is this okay? I understand. I think the set piece going on here is that because multi-push was just confirmed, I can push both these pieces up at once, which allows this to have a moment where it's connected into the white. So just remember that this white's going to be on, even though I don't understand the significance of it yet. Now we're going to head to this area. There is, of course, a loop potential, but it doesn't really stay on, does it? I'm going to go and set this to a different layer. So, like, this is on. And multi-push is a thing. So I can do this, and during a certain halfway point, this does connect into the loop. Therefore, I can mark the top here as on. Because multi-push is confirmed, that can also mean that this turns on. This entire thing can just be on at one point, I think. So, like, you do this, now it's on. Now connect the other side, and, like, here it's on. It is on right now. Let's complete the move. And then this can move as an entire block to the other side. Now, I'm going to assume that during this state, the black is still not turned on. I need to separate it in order to turn on the black. There. And, of course, in many locations, this is on. So I can go ahead and... God damn it! Multi-layer editing, am I right? Okay, and then we can reverse the steps. Because, this is not it, you freaking fool. Here. We reverse the steps that we did at the very start of this puzzle, where we do this, and then there is a moment in which it connects. No wonder Hut3 says you should just not play this game using an image editor and solve it. Unfortunately, I'm doing a video, so I kind of have to. But that means I can flashbang my viewers by accident. I'm really sorry. Okay, and the heart's on. Yes, okay, blue area is done. However, we have bridges and stuff going on here. Wow. Alright, set up a new image because I want to do this orange section. Remember, this wire was on. It was a branch really early on in blue. I'm going to try a different style here. Where, like, I'm just gonna write arrows and see if this is, like, faster or better to watch. I mean, yes, you can move them individually, but you could also multi-push, as we have learned. Is there a limit to multi-push? Who knows? Are they gonna be pushing into each other? Because this looks like what the joke is at this moment. Because it seems like I'm gonna need these to interlock. And with only single pushes, you can't do this, but, you know, now you can. Well, you can because you realize that you can multi-push in an earlier area. Also, the bridge won't work with the flood fill for obvious reasons, at least for the beginning. What? Okay. Well, you need to bring 2 blocks with you. And you can switch the order of the blocks as well. Okay, you can surely see that when I do this, I can switch the order of the other 2 blocks. So then they can be at the front. And then when they're at the front, they can also be swapped at will, right? Because I can do this, I can move 1 block here and then move the other there. So you can switch the positions of these. You can switch the positions of these. You can switch the positions of these. It's very trivial how. So I'm controversially not doing the individual moves. Okay, loop. Which moves together? We know this. We know that they're gonna make a loop and that we can move them together already. I feel there's a wrong way to do this puzzle too, isn't there? Anyway, we make a loop. And then they get pushed together using this block in order to not lose the white. To not lose the power in there. Another thing that is on right now. But we need to move this block in order to make... We can push the left block in order to do this. But then we need to move this all as a unit in order for this not to break. And now, again, we move this up here. Now, moving the right block allows us multi-push, and there we go. Loop. You can move this out, and then move this in. And then this block being in here allows you to move this. By moving the largest unit, you can move this sideways without anything breaking. Otherwise, that middle piece would detach. So we do this, power it on, and then move here. Next is... Okay, it can make loops for sure, but it's kind of weird how open it seems. But okay, we can do this, move this up here, and then here. Again, it's very obvious by now that this can allow power, but these pieces have to move through here. I guess, like, they must be using these as, like, a safe position. Yeah, okay, I see. So you can move both of these to a safe spot because you bring one of these here. It's just like an airlock, you move this here, and then move this out. And this piece is through, while always there was a white loop in this top section. You can do the same process for this other one, while keeping the white loop, so I'm just gonna move it here. Now finally with this loop, you make the connection from here to here, powering on the white loop, and then here. This looks like a more advanced version of keeping it on, because we also have this very suspicious area here. You can do this, and then, okay. Here, and you can imagine moving this up, and then to the left, and then up again. So I definitely know how to get to this one. But there's also a lower one. I guess we could activate that later or something, as there is a loop here. Okay, the idea of this one must be that there is a way to have these, but all in a line. Oh, that was way easier than I thought, right? Right? I'm even missing a block. Like, I have an extra one hanging around. I also need to care about physical logic of, like, this rotating down while pushing, which just no. But because we have power from here, because again, I just talked about moving this up and to the left, and then you move a block here to move this up again. This is powered. Oh. Okay, I should have seen that coming. Okay. This needs to move in the middle, which necessitates a more robust setup here, here, there we go. Okay. And then this entire thing moves up as a powered block with a loop in it. There's a loop here, but from blue from blue area, doesn't this turn on at this point? Like from here it turns on, and it stays on opening the gate. Something feels a little bit weird about this whole sequence, but I mean, it's fine. What is it, seriously? What is it going into? It goes into the wall again? Well, as a Toad reminder, this is over here, but we can easily disassemble it because we have a loop. And so, just instead of moving this block up and then left and up, we could instead move it here to move it down, which would allow opening this heart if we wanted it. What about this? This looks really silly. Just this big thing, which I know that moving this like a block is not completely accurate because the piece is in the middle, but so far we're just doing it in order to move to here. And likely, we will need some setup where either it directly reaches and powers something, or it can remain alive due to other loops. Unfortunately, though, the closest one is here. Well, you can't do a successful multi-push with a push starting from these, but you can in the reverse action of the other. That is very spaghetti described, but what I mean is, like here, for example, if I wanted to retain this as a looping, as a block with a loop, I would push this entire thing down with a action on the outer ring. So this allows it to move down and then activate this. Okay, it looks like it, it looks like it breaks the bottom wall, but it actually does not. Because this creates a loop here, I can now move this away. I can move these pieces even though they would be black now. Since I can move them here, and there's still a loop on the left. Okay, and now I can move this to the right. And then you can see that there is another slot for things to go in and cause a loop here. It should be blatantly obvious by now that I can loop this, I can continue this to also move upwards, so we're gonna abstract away the middle of this block and see that we can move this up, and then move this left, which triggers this, by the way, and then up again. Again, we can reposition the two blocks inside whenever there's a loop on the edge. Now move all the way to the left, then down into this loop, and then finally we can trigger a checkpoint of power. I don't really know what the frog that's doing. Well, I did say that my intention was to keep doing this until I found something that would, like, really necessitate the image thing. So far I haven't seen it, so we're just gonna continue to the right where there's a purple and a red area here. And this looks, like, intimidating and maybe complex, but... So here's the yellow branch at the start of the video. Guess this should move here. Oh, God. Anyway, we move these purples, but it is suspicious why is there a smaller piece here in the purples, but... Okay, and after this purple is a red, which we need to trigger. This is triggering more gates and stuff. And we're just gonna turn that on, but I... Actually, no, there's no way to turn that gate on. It's just there. But okay, let's just move that here, and then turn this. Okay, once again, this is a gate. We're gonna turn it on. This one already starts powered. My God, what do you mean it's like inside here? Can a gate get cut or something? Weird. Anyway, this can go either up or down. Jeez. It's totally getting cut. So look at this. Look at this scenario. Okay, let's go here. So I'm just gonna move this in here, powering this on, turning this gate, and allowing this to move into here. I'm just gonna tell you what I'm visualizing here. Now, you put this in between the gate, and then you would move the piece, which, again, I kind of imagine it, but like, the piece is over here, and then you move it away, which will turn off the power, and then that would mean the gate turns back on, cutting them into two. You can see that because look at, I mean, look at the design and layout of this. This is the only way. Okay, powered, this gate's on. I wonder if the bottom is its own self-contained thing. But this gate is down now, which means that this piece can go here. No, it can't. Well, it can if I do something up here. Okay, hold on. Just move this back into a more real position. This... Hmm. I mean, that's... Okay, like, we probably moved both of them as if it was one combined block because this is moving downwards, but... Kinda don't see how. Also, I'm personally ignoring the 3D aspect. This would honestly be a really tempting joke in a different game, where, like, the flood fill is, like, you know, oh, this is not really connected because of the 3D, but I don't think that is a mechanic in this game, so... Like, the thing is, when you push this down, it certainly is not at the mid-step of here where that gate can be cut. Wait, I'm just... Okay, wait, I forgot, like, this is inverted, yeah, okay, sorry. This gate is actually open and upwards. It is not down in the way, which means that this block moves upwards. Is there something where the powered off status of something only updates at the end of a move? Because if it updated immediately, like, say you push this slightly, this would mean that would get disconnected then. Which would immediately mean that this, like, almost gets nothing cut off. Like, the freaking top of this would get cut off. What a joke. What a joke that would be. So I'm gonna assume that that means that the power only ends at the end of a move. So when I push this up, it only counts as being disconnected from the power at the very end of the move, and that would allow... Well, it doesn't actually allow connection here, because... Yeah, once you move this in here, there's no way to actually get back the top piece to the lower portion. Anyway, we're just gonna move these in place and see where that leads. Checkpoint. This thing, which needs to be powered. Oh, we don't have it. What? Okay, I think there is a way. There is a way. Never mind, this would move. This would have moved up, but we can just move it back down. We can go here, push this upwards, then fill in the gap. So this would look something like this. I know it looks cursed, but... And this allows us to move this here and power up this middle block. And because there's power on top, we actually didn't need to do it in this specific order. Because otherwise there would be no way to get the power back on top again. Because there would be a gate here. Okay. We want to break this loop by intentionally putting in the wrong blocks. We can't break it, like, by doing this if power only updates at the end of a move. As in, if losing power only updates at the end of a move. It wouldn't work anyway, because this is, like, there's two sources up here. But yes, this is allowed to turn off by doing this. and this, and this. This lets us slice the two pieces of this into here and here, into here. We can block off very specific parts of this, and I guess slice off the top and the bottom parts of this by blocking off either this gate or this one. Okay. Okay. Was there a bottom path to check? Because I feel like there was. I don't know if this is the time to go check it. There's a lot going on in that section that I haven't done yet. I feel like I should mark off the areas which the gates are open and like I've finished. I hope it's not distracting. God. Maybe just do the middle part. It's just gonna like be an unbelievable branch and let's like finish this up. Okay, here. So this bridge turns this on. And we're gonna cut this into smaller pieces. That's really nice. I mean, the thing is, we can only cut this much at the moment because we don't have power to this gate yet, which will allow us to cut the vertical bit. But okay, okay, that's where the paths all connect. That's really satisfying. Anyway, we bring this all the way back up through this path. We are roadblocked here. Okay, we need to do this. What's going on here? Oh my god, man! Getting the sense that this was supposed to be like the tutorial section for this again. This is open. Okay, this is like an... It's kind of hard to tell that it's open, but I'm glad the game is at least 3D for this. Why did we need to do that thing at the bottom anyway? Isn't it independently powered already? Oh, because at this step, we lose the connection from the left to the right, which opens and powers this door. Unless we have this piece in here. Okay. This powers this on and allows this to progress onto this gate because this gate is gone. Now, okay, there's only one move, but... is this showing the interaction where, like, power does not go out in a mid-step? Which we already figured out, by the way. Whatever. God damn it. Okay. Okay, what is blocking this? What is blocking this here? We're gonna go into the purple. Okay, so we need to keep this alive. But we're using the fact that things don't disappear. Like, the power doesn't go out until the end of the move. So we can just move these up in infinity, I guess, because... I mean, also multi-push, because you can push the bottom and move this, as we know, and you just keep moving this up repeatedly until you hit over here. But of course, again, you can't actually move those as an entire group. I'm just simulating repeating the action of moving the right and then the left, the right and then the left. Here, we have a block, and we can't mess up corners. Yeah, so we have to do this, but then we can't break it by doing this. At the end of this move, this is truly broken. So we need to move up through this, specifically. And then here, it doesn't matter that this top section is going to be broken at the moment. And then here. Just doing a check to make sure the gate... Yeah, the gate setup is exactly what I would expect. Power this. So with both those gates open, you can move this here and this here. Okay, this is finally open, and both sides of this puzzle half have been turned on. I should have turned this on earlier because, well, hold on. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because we're only messing with one at a time, but these gates can't actually be both open at the same time. The point is, though, as long as we have enough space, I hope that we have enough space hanging around the edge, but let's just make sure for, like, we don't. That means we have to store one of the the broken squares in here, because otherwise there's no way we can fit this in and move this down. But otherwise it should be working. And we can put the shape... wow, good job me at drawing that. Here. That is the same shape here, and we can cut this and this. Pretty obvious there's enough space at this corner for us to bring squares over. And then at some point, like... Here, it's so obvious that we have enough space now to just fit all the squares like in here or whatever, and now we can just cut each piece individually. For example, like when we're around here, the actual thing that I'm simulating here is that this piece moves here, we move this away, and it gets cut, and then we move it all out. So I wonder if this philosophically is like one of the things that would make you say, okay, this should be an image instead of a game, because this is not the only time when we had to do something a little bit repetitive. Although the level of repetitiveness still isn't as like it isn't like so large that it would be out of place in a game, so I don't even know. Anyway, I'm sorry for the visual disaster, but we do have this connection now, and this is open. Okay, a bridge and a loop has also happened, I think. Let's mark this as all clear. Once again, okay, so this is easy to understand. It just connects to the outside, powers this for some reason. And okay, okay, this looks amazing. What is this? Do we need to not power it on? Probably. Let's just look at where it goes. It goes here. We might actually want that gate. But why is it so complicated, though? Okay, and what about the bottom of this? My god. This looks so strange. What is going on? Why is this a complicated task? I mean, it certainly makes me like there being 6 blocks makes me want to dump them here, but that's just like that's just like monkey square brain in square hole. Oh, I see what's happening. It's gonna cause a loop, which we don't want. We want this to turn on, then turn off. But the problem is, if you just naively put this here, you create a ton of loops that you can never turn off. So you need to specifically put this at this square so that it never goes up and hits all of these looping points. Okay, that's easy. Here, always making sure you're facing an empty square. Almost like a Baba level. Hey, this is... okay, we can't do this. Okay. Here is actually safe. It doesn't look safe if you just think about the black grid, but it actually is, because this is not causing a loop in any way. I guess, are there any other unintuitive safe spots like that? Yeah, of course. There's this. I can just move from here to here, because I'm not creating a loop even though the thing is powered here. Okay, there we go. And of course, there's no problem with that. Okay, cool. Powered. And we can also, of course, unpower any time. That's not the point. And now here. Now we need to block off all loop sources, which is interesting. Using 6 blocks. So it's all about gonna be it's just like, okay, so just look around and notice how each square it's like, okay, so like we don't have control over 3 of the 4 corners in this square. So one of the red blocks definitely goes here. Where the frog did I go? Anyway, that also is true for this corner, and then this corner and this corner as well. So those are all forced, and now the other 2 are really obvious. It's here. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's here and here. Because we also have to block off the other big rectangles. For example, this one, or this one. Now if you put like a line here, for example, you can see how what I've made perfectly divides the sides as well. So there is no contamination at all, and those are 6 points for 6 blocks. Okay, it's on. And off at any point, because you can move this back and forth, and these blocks will be cut to allow connection from here to here. Just moving the 3 vertical cut blocks into that location. Okay, let's look at this thing. This is on, but needs to be cut. There's a lot of things that are on right now. What is going on there? I mean, it sure looks like this is forced, but by the end of each... no, I mean, like... This is currently open, so I can move this to the right. Just for this, I'm gonna move the gate in the layer above this in the image editor. I can move this in position to be cut. So now I have to visualize it turning off by my action. I guess I don't know why the right side is this complex. I don't know. Like, certainly, like, in this position, during the move, there's definitely a time when you could say, yeah, this isn't being connected to any power, so it's off. But does that mean that cutting is allowed? It's also a bit weird because, of course, we've established already that power off only happens at the end of a move. So I should spend a little bit of time thinking about this. It's that stepping on deletes the power source, which, okay, hold on, I forgot. I need to check whether I've messed up in previous. I don't think I did. Okay, here, okay, so errata a little bit for this. Because we can only make 1 cut, you have to do this one first. Because this, you remember this used to be a 2x2 block, and if you cut the one at the top first, you don't have enough space to get the piece out. Because it's like a half, it's like partially cut here, and there's no way to move this left because the gate is down and it would be blocking if you try to move it left. But from here it's fine because you just can move it down from the bottom. That is the only thing that I messed up though. And is that like I didn't clarify that you need to press the button down here in a certain order and then up. Okay, so which means that for this, the idea is you put it here, which will turn that off, and then you move along this line, and then there will be no power. Because you never had an ability to turn this back on to being powered, so it'll be off by this point. It'll be just completely off. Okay, and that's how you make the cut. Cool. Where is this? And also, there was this area that in red that we never messed with. We could turn this on if we wanted to. Some sort of tutorial for something. Like, why are we powering on random blocks that are, like, dark gray? Is that, like, a thing that we can use to, like, move around dark gray blocks or something? Well, it looks like this sequence is there, so, like, if this gate ever goes down, it's never coming back. So you always try... Okay, so you're moving these blocks in a way where, like, at every step, there's a connection that continues the path. See, this validly continues the path, but not this, because this is blocked. But you move up instead in order to validly continue the path at the end of each move. And similarly for this, do we need any other blocks assistance for this one? Because we're gonna have a problem. Okay, here. Here's the trick move, because if this is here, then we don't have a problem, because this is still powered on. It's powered on this way. And then this block can move this way. We can bring this back up. Again, there is actually a wire. I just don't have the overlaps right now. But this is on. Okay. Okay, we better get this purple done fast, huh? What's going on here? Loop. Bunch of empty space. Oh god, where do I even start with this? I could even move these around right now. Well, the power doesn't retain. And then these two blocks are out. Okay, these gates are in a bit of a cursed position because this power source, which I will mark red just to show, this thing definitely needs to be on. And then this other one controls which of these gates should go on or not. Like that controls here, and the one that's on right now makes this open. Problem is, it doesn't seem to get anything out from there. And then this thing, is there even any cut available? I guess if you do this, it gets cut. Because there's no longer any power between those two. Okay, so we can cut them if we wanted to. That could allow you to move these pieces. I am, again, imagine them as split pieces at the moment, so we're just moving them individually. And because we know we can move and trigger these gates using these two by moving them, I can move these pieces up and over here. Make it very clear they're split. Whoa, 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 that wasn't valid. Whoa, hold on. Because when I did this, the top piece here was cut, and it's staying there. Okay, I'm gonna have to add this part afterwards because I missed a really good joke and the opportunity to notice it myself in a way because I didn't understand how this mechanic worked. And I figure this is the best place to put it, even though I'm going to this part earlier in post, because basically this thing moves down and it gets cut by these two gates. In my actual, like, blind interpretation of this, I did see that these paths were parallel and suspicious, but I thought the rule was that cut pieces could be moved together at any point, even after being cut. That's kind of close to the actual rule, but it made me skip completely what was so interesting about this section. The actual interpretation is that after this gets cut, the reason you're able to move these pieces at once is as if these were still selected by you. So remember, this is a full rigid piece. It gets cut, and then you still treat it like a rigid piece until you decide to move a different piece, and then you cannot select them as a rigid piece when they're cut up again. Which means that when I cut this piece in half here, I'm still controlling both pieces at once, it's just that there's a gate in between here, so like we can't do anything. But what that specifically is meaningful for is, now that means you cannot deselect. Like, of course, right here, The way I thought about it was, well, just move this piece up. What's the big deal? But if you can't just go and select both of these pieces after it's already been cut, that means that this piece needs to push these pieces around in order to switch this block into over here. Which then reveals that this section is a Microbond 1 joke. If you're not familiar with it, it's literally equivalent to this scenario where the block you're selecting represents the player and this target square is exactly the starting positions and the target positions are equivalent to what it is in 0-player. This level is relevant because like it's the default puzzle script level. I've beat it like so many times. Like Parabox has referenced it. So many different puzzle games have referenced this is a recurring puzzle layout and joke. And I'm a little bit sad that like I didn't get to appreciate it in context because of the way I interpreted the rules. But yeah, anyway, after that, you know, this just connects over here and then you can make it move like a block because this will still be selected. But yeah, it's just sad not get the sort of reverse. But anyway, back to the blind clip. However, I can still move this piece, which is still down below. Again, mess with these two in order to make this move past here, and then there's this power source that turns on this gate and then reunites the two pieces, so yay. We can move both of them up. I am moving them past each other at the moment, but like it's equivalent to having multi-push them. So the setup is a little confusing to me. I obviously can't actually move these as a block while retaining the power. I don't know what's going on there. We should check out what's going on down here. The gates are open. It could not be more clear that these are going to go here. And they're going to get cut upon this move finishing because the power source is gone, which traps a 1x2 here and gives us 2 verticals to work with. Well, isn't that weird? Because do they move in parallel? What is this? I can't do those halves. Wait, what the hell? Wait, we control them both at once? Has that always been the case? Ugh! Hopefully that's not, hopefully that does not cause any spaghetti with everything else. I mean, I've played so many desync synchronization puzzles before, but this kind of recontextualizes a lot if the player movements between cut pieces was actually still the same. Like, what about this one? Oh my god. I moved them past each other, right? Or maybe, hopefully, like, this puzzle is not solvable if cut pieces still have to move the same direction. But I'm looking back down here, and I don't think you can do the thing that you need to do here. And like these passages are so suspiciously the same. Okay, I was gonna add another layer, but my image editor cannot support it, so we're just gonna cut out the middle, pretend it doesn't exist, and then move these as a block so you can see what I'm trying to visualize. Basically, these are moving as one, which means that this is a valid move to turn on this. So now this is powered on. We can go here, which also powers this, but that's a normal move. Now a desynchronization happens, but we should be kind of fine with those. I mean, you can just move these separately. I mean, I hope that we're moving these separately, right? And, okay, now over here... Well, I mean, that seems like the most obvious idea that these they have to move at the same time. Note that, like, this powered, I mean, all the wires in here are... This opens this top of the gate, which means that this is now an open gate, and now the bottom is on. But it needs to stay on. But luckily, power turning off only happens in between moves, and we can move these together. So at the end of every one of those moves, things were going to be on, and that powers this on, there's a checkpoint there as well. Okay, now these pieces are not... They were not cut out of the same thing, so I don't know. Actually, no, I know. You go... This is so good. You move these, one of them goes to here, one of them goes to here, you push them at the same time. Both of them get pushed at the same time, which allows this connection to form at, you know, at one blip in time. Although, hold on a second, because this is not on at the moment because we need to do this. But luckily, with what we've learned below, these came from the same piece. So now we know we can just move them all at once, and now... Hold on, first of all, it does actually get power. We can actually move them like a block. Powering both the top and bottom sections. Once again, it powered the background. I don't know what to think about that still. But okay, the heart is on. So I guess you could partially say that that area required the thematics of this game. Because unless you wanted to add some artificialness here, you couldn't like do a prompt every single time you moved a cut block going, select which blocks to move simultaneously. Maybe you could simulate, like, I don't know, it's still a little artificial. Like, maybe you hold down shift to activate the behavior or something. Anyway, we are basically done with the whole area. We got the hearts, we got the background. So, we actually have a lot left, but videos feel like 50 minutes long. I feel like I'd be a clown to not finish the rest now. But first, I guess I want to point out that there's like a heart in the center, and I think we already have it. It was when we activated this in the orange path. Of course, again, like, this is not a big image, like, I had to split up into a bunch of smaller images, but yeah, that's the one that powered this, so I don't know about all the other ones. And, oh, did this change in an update? This looks so weird. Is black some sort of all-consuming void or something? The fact that there's a gate being in black makes it feel like this is like falling into the void and like being moved in here, doesn't it? But why would you need to move anything through here? What are these? I don't know where to start with this at all. What am I looking at? Why does it feel like it's connected into the gate? We have blocks of pure void in here. I don't know how we get power into this area. I am so confused right now on how to make anything happen here. This block, sure, you can open this gate and close it. I guess this is some sort of exit thing. Maybe worth it this top blocks off the top section. Although if we end by making a full loop around the black, that would be pretty satisfying, right? But it's too bad that it feels like we already have sources into the void, like so many of them. Get the oranges just in case there's like a shape. Like I'm seeing that there's this shape, and I was wondering if there was like one like represented around here, but I don't see anything like that. The multicolor is certainly like appealing, but it's been a couple minutes and I still don't know what's going on. Okay, so we need to bring. Are we supposed to like? God. So I think I made the idea that maybe you could move around these dark gray pieces in like part one. I don't think that's true anymore. There's too many times when they've actually been pretty big blockers, even though they've been really suspicious throughout the whole game. Maybe I'm just looking at it wrong and the light comes from here. I can, of course, move all these down, but I can't stop this from stepping on this and ruining it. This thing looks completely impossible. What is this? Even if you can move around this big void chunk, you can't do anything. What is going on here? Okay, so like the black blocks being moving definitely does seem true. In fact, we can actually move that right now. But somehow it doesn't feel like the right thing to do because it turns on. Can you turn it off again? No. It's like weird things like this. What is there some way to like cut this off? There's no way to extend this horizontally. And this also looks impossible with what I know, where like what, or are we finally doing the halfway joke or something? Because other than something silly like this, we're not going to be able to get a connection from here with just a straight line of 4. This at least looks normal, okay? This section connecting looks normal, but nothing else does. I'm thinking maybe like there's like power hidden underneath this block, but even that doesn't help. Also because power has been established to be shut off when there's a block on it. Okay, hold on. It actually doesn't ruin if you step on this. We just need all 4 blocks to be in the gates first, but they're not powered on. If I flood fill this actually does connect. I cannot add a background layer to this image without completely destroying the memory of the computer. No, seriously, there's still so many suspicious things, like, you know, these that turned on that I didn't see do anything. The exits that led to the top of this. Although, admittedly, this one was only temporary, right? Again, this also turned on. I guess we should also make sure this isn't also temporary. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's temporary when it turns on, I think, because even if it turns on for just the blip of a second, that's enough to power on a checkpoint. Unless there's some timing thing where people are like, I don't know, you think that it takes time. And it isn't considered instant when this goes all the way around and activates the thing on the other side of the map. Looking at the way this sequence goes again, I see you can only do this once, and you lose it at the end of the turn. Because you push this up and then the power gets removed, so you can only do this once. And this section is also like that. Like, you move this block, it activates the block in the halfway point, and then you can't push it back up again, because these are two separate blocks. So actually the idea with these four is that they need to go here, of course, but they only get a single blip at a time. I've circled the other two locations here too. This, again, you only get one action where this is on, and then it shuts off and you can't get it back. Because this is down here and then the gates is closed. And then the final one is down here, where we have already specified how to do the stuff in this part. It's just, we need to retcon the timing so that we did it at a time when we move one of these blocks, because each of those four circles corresponds to powering up one of the blocks here. Okay, I hope that's clear enough that we have all of the things to get. We made all of these white. This gate is entirely open. We have this T-piece that is moved into here. But now we're blocked by this. What is going on here? Are we, like, moving this as a platform? Like, you stack this on top on the same square to move it to the other side? Because this place is too isolated. I'm also going to cut and crop the image here so I can have a background. This is clearly the next thing to do, right? And yet I don't know what the hell. Also, this exit from here, this sequence, we can obviously move this block. A ton of space turns on, I guess not permanently. Which is a bit weird, I mean, like, to me, because I would kind of have thought that black squares in the void already, like, counted as loops constantly, but maybe that's not how it works. And, like, these don't count as self-powering loops the same way that many other things have, because there's obviously so many potential loops there. But meanwhile, this setup is clearly made for you to detach this at any time. So this whole section, it's like, I guess it's showing that it can turn back into black. There's also another exit out, which I could cut this and then maybe... Actually, this one is weird because it makes it look like there's infinite flips, right? Because this goes up, gets cut. Can't this bottom piece repeatedly activate that black section or what? That would seem to simplify the first step of moving these four, which feels a little bit wrong. I guess that's the reason for this loop. This one here seems to turn on immediately due to this gate, and then doesn't shut off. So this can't close? Okay, but what if, because this is a bridge, what if you block... Okay, the void must be a place you can drop stuff in, isn't it? Yeah, because, like... Okay, I've seen these pieces, I literally didn't know what the hell they were doing. You can go over the void, you can drop stuff in the void. Yeah, there was, like, weird things like, if the void is, like, a wall, then how does this piece... Wow, amazing drawing me. How does that ever move out? And it looks like that's our answer. These pieces are going all into here to block this portion, to block this entire wire. And we only want to have stuff cross this bridge. Maybe that just results in more questions, though, because we have this thing. How does that get out? Okay, I guess we can still move pieces in the void, because it drops into here, and then we can still move it, probably. I don't know if it rules out the idea that, like, pieces are able to stand on top of other pieces in the void. I'm just looking around, there's some suspicious, like, things, like, here. Okay, like, I basically need to imagine what happens after something like this, even though we don't have the power yet, just to see what the hell these void blocks are doing. I don't even see how this one can actually work. Like, okay, like, imagine moving this up with power, then it's powered, I guess. It needs to then go down in order to, well, I guess it can't lose power with that move. And then what? Well, the gate's open. So do you, like, is it a negative idea of a block? Like, assume this is powered on, therefore the gate is open. There's, like, no space in here. So maybe, like, the negative blocks means you can do this and the blocks cancel out or something. Also assume that the white stayed there for some reason, even though it wouldn't stay in, like, the other example. There's also maybe not enough justification for the single piece here. I'm holding off on the idea that's really the mechanic for now. Yeah, then it would give power to this section. This makes it look like that there's something special about a loop of black, and also that maybe we want to delete it on purpose with this. Maybe that's just it then. Yeah, when I had this in this situation, this entire thing is powered, but if you move this left, maybe it stops to become a loop. It stops being a loop now, and therefore that cuts it, which maybe makes more sense than negative, as in, like, it can destroy block. Okay, that's something. This is a movable block, right? This is just movable. I guess this can go over the void. Is that true? This contraption is interesting. It seems like you drop this here or something. You make cuts. Well, I mean, I say make cuts because this exists, but I actually don't know why you need to cut. Why not just grab the power from here? Maybe there's a reason that you would need to turn off the power? No, there's a checkpoint here. Maybe there's a reason you would want to cut it again, even though there's, like, already a cutter, like, on yellow. But, like, okay, like, let's say that you wanted to cut. You could just move the piece away, though. As in, like, I'm assuming that we managed to get a whole white looped piece here with power. And I don't really see what the holdup is. Unless you assume something like, you move this piece over, and then maybe this is, that, like, this is an entire 3x3 black. Because, of course, if you're gonna take the whole rule that this is a loop as fact, then you cannot blip into existence like how the entire outer region would otherwise be full of loops. So you have to kind of special case the 3x3 and say that that is not allowed to be a loop. Anyway, if you remember, we don't have power there. We're going to go back to here because now, okay, we can drop stuff here. That block's no longer real. Okay, hold on. Are we really holding them like a platform? Because we can't... I'm pretty sure I can't just multi-select and have them both move. But this needs to get to the other side somehow. Is this an ice puzzle? An ice puzzle? We need a little bit more before we can say that for sure. It would also cause some existential crisis for, like, stuff like this, because when it maneuvers up here, I sure hope that these don't behave like ice and then, like, have trouble moving into the places that we need them to be in. Here's another thing too, I guess. The finale of this game is a permanent power source for the outside, because we've only got blips of power before. Now, I thought it was about getting a piece in here that, like, maybe pointed left and was a power source, because that would explain why there's this here when we haven't used it. But now I'm getting a little bit... It feels a little bit strange this is here. I guess that's still a blip power source. Even if we manage to do this, we will still only have blips of power, as this piece goes here and only activates it for a second, even if we can re-trigger it infinitely. And there's, like, a heart in the center, which I see is going to be the final reward, and it can only be activated for blips at a time until the finale. And this makes it so clear now, I guess, that there's no way to get a piece here without the idea of something on a platform that's being selected at the same time, so that's pretty cool. However, these pieces aren't cut, so I don't know how I'm gonna make this assumption work. Sorry for this ridiculous solving style, because I still don't know what the hell is going on here. Not even the idea of putting this here actually works, because you need to have it on this location at one point, and now you can't really use it as a platform without breaking the loop. So there needs to be a way to get it over here, and I don't know if I can justify this ice-like move yet. But anyway, I was gonna go here. I think I have a solution for this. You split this in terms of 3. Good job, me. You said the wrong thing immediately. 4, 4, and 2. And this is how it works. Like, it's 3 because, of course, 3 is the thing you need to make the loop. But you do this. But first of all, it's white in this location. We give it power, move this to the right, then here, then here, then here. If you repeat this over and over again, you can get power to the other side without ever breaking a loop. So I think I have that covered. This, there isn't that much you can do with this one. Of course, you get power, set this up. Now, the awkward part is, I visualize that this place all has power, but there isn't a loop spot here. But because losing power only happens at the end of a turn, doing this move retains a 3x3 loop here. Then you can make this move, and then here, right, I remove the background layer, but then here. Can we also say that there's like a halfway point where like it would gain power even if it does close the priority? For example, even if the priority was considered as first, notice that there's no 3x3 with a hole in it and then everything is black, because even in the halfway move, there was a move that gave this power. So put this in. I believe we have the idea of that one solved as well. I mentioned this, we don't need to overthink this, right? I already, like, imagined this earlier. There's not even a loop going on there. I really don't know what's going on with blue there, and whatever the bottom is, though. Okay, oh god, okay, so I thought something would be really cursed here, but now that I look at this scenario, it's like, it's so suddenly clear. I really thought we would need to have, like, a bunch of things somehow, like, find a way to place things at offset positions. I think it's a lot more clear. We need something like, not rotation, that's like different games have already done it. We set it up like this, and then this one block is placed here. The multi-block then can push these pieces, and there's a halfway point in which this actually just works. I guess intuitively, it looked to me like we would need to have a lot more. For example, something like this, where it's like barely touching the edge, just seemed like that was the genre of the puzzle to me. But it isn't, so okay, it's just a multi-push. That also means, as I had long suspected, that the move that whitens all of this is a pretty permanent one. It doesn't just blip. Although I do have questions about how there are continuous loops in here, so maybe it can't even turn off. But there's definitely continuous loops with, like, gaps in it, which is maybe not true for the whole map. Anyway. So can I do this now? I was worried I didn't have what it takes and didn't understand the void enough. Let's just give it a shot. So I had long suspected that this thing is pushed to the left in order to make a cut. So it cuts here into these two pieces, but I could still have them both selected. Okay, and with desynchronization, you could very easily push upwards here in order to separate the pieces. Why is there a power source down there? Could I use it for anything else? I don't think so. This is our power source location here, and we probably need to retain it. Thing is, though, is there even a stationary block? This seems like a problem. Unless there's a way to make this block distinct or something, or if this is leading to a this is pushable reveal. But, like, you put this here, and even if you can move this somewhere, like... Oh, I guess it could replace this block. Okay, we're gonna imagine that this block takes the place of this one. I've played enough desyncing in Baba to know that this is very obviously possible. So then, if the blocks in blue are under your control, you can move this to the right without issue, and give power to this. Then these two blocks seem to get stuck to the wall, though. Well, that's not true. No, that's not true at all. We could instead have them here, and then use this one block, which we have extra now, and put that there. With the reminder that these are the selected blocks, and the three are just the three idle blocks that were originally here. Well, then I pretty directly see a new setup, where instead, these are the selected and can safely multi-push these uncontrolled blocks down. And there's so many ways to desync and synchronize blocks that I don't think any of that is like an issue. And now here, okay, do we have a problem here? Because I see this one can be powered, so let's mark it. But we need right and up. Doesn't it get broken? Just to make it really clear on video. Problem is you do this, and then if you try to move up, the bottom right block is going to detach. Is it possible to skip top right as a checkpoint? That would be really nice. That'd be a nice trick. So can we go from here and switch to the other state? I'm sorry for this, but I think I'm gonna have to make a retcon. I'm not fond of it because it seems like it might make... I don't know, maybe it makes this and this seemed easier to me. So I guess maybe not. Okay, so the thing I'm going to do is say that actually a 3x3, even without a hole in the middle, is a suitable power source. infinity source, or a loop, or whatever you want to say. Because I don't see how you could fix this situation here, like, at all. Perhaps it means I'll get this wrong, unfortunately. But now this means that you can set up this and then just move it down. Now switch the one that is active to this one. Of course, I flood fill it like it's easy, but in practice you would have to do a bunch of desynchronization nonsense. Actually, there's one thing that gets stuck down here. You gotta be kidding me, we still have this problem? Okay, I'll explain why I still considered it. Because of this. I think that, like hopping this over the void is too much of a leap. So over the two rules, I would rather suggest that you can bring this over like an island to be able to power on specifically this and then treat it like a continuous loop. Oh my god, this is... Floodfill got cursed there. And then use this, the two combined blocks as like a ferry over, while keeping a 3x3 undisturbed. So that is what I'm going to say is the way that this gets powered, and then this, and then that would allow power to this white section. To be honest, this doesn't really explain this still. Like, this, the only thing that does is make it even potentially less interesting. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I'll have to eat back the last 2 minutes if I do something different here, though. I know there's this move you can make. If you go deselect this, then reselect only this, you could potentially power this on. You know, this is kind of like priority of this lose power, but I think not. And that will let you power without getting anything stuck. I hope I'm not missing anything with the multi-select rule, because now I'm starting to doubt you can even do the final stretch of right and up. Actually, that deselection is the fine. It's just not in the way that I said at all. And I love that there was a huge tangent in the middle of this solve, but okay, here, now you do your push nonsense repositioning in order to make this piece move upwards, and then this to take its place, which again is the easy step, while keeping the selection. Now moving here, the thing you need to do now is deselect, so now that it's deselect, you can go back here and just take this piece. That's not... That's a different game. Maybe. But anyway, you take this, you move here, and this is multi-push. It's just this moves here, and then this moves up repeatedly and spammed. And remember that we still have the power, because this rectangular block is not broken yet. But yeah, you do this, and then this, and then this, and then repeat over and over until it's up there. And again, it's all powered, and... okay. I don't know what to feel about how this was, like, included in the nonsense. I don't know. I also still don't know how this is not trivial. Okay, after a couple more several minutes of staring and looking at this situation, I've come to the idea that I was probably wrong about what this is. This is not a void pit that blocks can be sunken into. The proper layer to look at this is a floor. And it's a bit it's a bit ridiculous how it took this long to conclude. But I think actually then there must be a problem with this. And then this like cancels out the loop. So that's why you need the cutter. You can cut between here and here by using the cutter. I mean, that block is just a movable block, so there's nothing wrong with it. And the point is to cut away this so that you can put this in here. There. Now when you go over this gap, you power it on, you get your power. You can just... pushing down with the center of the cut tile, by the way, in order to move it down. And then when you move it over, it's not a black that appears in here and cancels the 3x3 anymore. So there you go. Also, this is a much better justification for when I do this move, I was like, doesn't it fall in the void or something? If it's just the floor, then there's no problem. It just walks over the floor is what this is then. Okay, the rule where a full 3x3 doesn't work, but a 3x3 with a hole in it does, it's reinstated. Okay, make a triangle there. Did I just say triangle? My god. And then this section. I think this section will finally make sense now. Why we seem to need this when there was so much open space. Actually, there is still a little bit too much open space here. Are we making a hole in a loop? Because that seems like what we're trying to do. Like, when I do this, there is not black underneath that, probably. It will be considered to have floor beneath, which is why this needs to happen. But then with these tiles, we're setting up a loop, I bet, because we can only blip this right now. Yes, but I'm a fool right now for where I've put them. No, actually, this is fine. This is fine, because, okay, look, you get power. I've solved this section that gives this power anyway, so I do not mind the background is powered at the moment. I do this, blipping this loop into position. Now I just move this back. I move these away. Gee, I hope this works. It better, because this feels like it's it. You do this, you can set the loop to happen on the other side now. And now you move these up here. 2, 3. Okay, that's pretty cool. And don't ask why I'm moving anything down there. I really don't know. We'll deal with that with later time. The whole goal right now is to solve everything, which we have, and now it's just about getting these pieces out. These are truly open gates. Every single one seems to have a checkpoint behind them, so there is no cutting involved with any of these. So we're just getting them out and moving them into this area. Alright, I have just finished dropping all of these in the same image. Well, they're already in the same image, in the same like location, cropping all these pieces out. And I suddenly realized that I misunderstood what the goal of this was, because there's a wire roaming through all of these. So we probably connect from one side to the other. This T is a huge problem, though. We could probably find some way to fit in a dead end. But let's line these up end to end first to see what our length situation is like. There's some wastage going on with purple here. It is also possible that maybe this goes into the black void at a portion of this, but then admittedly it would need walls on the top and bottom. There's slight like differences in diagonality or whatever. Oh, shoot. Oh. Okay, so we don't have one overlap left over to do anything with. Wow. Well, then we have a much bigger problem. Oh, I'm gonna make real sure there's no sources of cutting around. Okay, I didn't see any. Other than the jump cuts, obviously. I don't know if we're doing like a halfway motion. We should zoom out to definitely see there's nothing weird going on here. Actually, I'm reminded of something. Oh god, I gotta bring up the full version of the image. I can't believe I screwed myself like this, but it's this. I literally had no idea what it was, because I thought it would just fall in the hole. Now that I know that it's on the same level, then it suddenly makes a whole lot of sense why this piece is here. We actually have the gates already open for it. It's the thing down here, and I cropped it out of the image like a clown. It's so cursed that it makes it look like this is somehow the start of where you would get power from. And there's even like a loop here. But anyway, you drag it like alongside this thing. You drag it all over the place. You could frankly even drag it into the top region. I should switch to my other image, honestly. Just grab a screenshot of this block, because we just know that it can be brought up, obviously. Okay, the two things are that this could help. Oh my god, then it's easy as all living hell. Hold on a sec. Just unbelievable that we aren't doing anything more clever with the void there. We're just plopping this block there and calling it a day. And now, you know, at some point you would grab this block, which, remember, it starts here, then you turn it on. It goes all throughout this. Of course, it hits a wall here due to what we added. Turns this gate on, lets you move these pieces up, cutting this. So you need to move this block away in order to cut it, of course. And then you have the ability to repeatedly blip this, but that's not the point. The point is that we're dragging this block up to the top here. More specifically up this tunnel. Then finally grab that block and move it up here. And now the top being a horizontal block will form a loop that turns on everything, including the middle heart, which will finish it for once and for all. I'm marking the other hearts also. I have not done an image collage for this nonsense. Fun fact, even the final flood fill lagged my editor to death. So that's why it wasn't solved as a single image and required so much cropping. So I guess these were just truly optional puzzles then when I did this. So out of curiosity now, I've checked the hints and some comments, and this is not the end of the game. Although even the hints don't tell you that. In fact, none of the hints even tell you or hint you towards the idea that the void is not a hole, which I find quite blah. Like, even the win message does not say that the goal of this game, the final one, is to get 8 hearts. 8 hearts. If you look right now, there are currently 7 hearts. I think I know exactly where the last one would be, too. And it involves this. You can probably make a heart in the inverted space. And I guess it's worth noting that the power could come from anywhere now. Like, we could just decide to turn on the power and not care whatsoever. And then we could choose to make the heart not from the left side, but from any side, which seems better. But we don't have the luxury of bringing this piece back, though. The 1x1 here. Okay, but before we go on doing that, we should probably highlight and use an image of an actual heart as a guide. I'm gonna crop off the edges here, make the center transparent. If I can fill in this with, like, useful, not even useful, that's not even the word. If I can imagine blocks that will fit in each section of this, then we might just have it. Should we, like, delete this wall or something because we could put it, like, here? I don't know if I could get away with that. Maybe we should just, like, put pieces underneath here and see how much I can fit. And honestly, I'm really worried about a lot of the edges here. Feels like I'm not going to have enough, but... See, look at this. Wait. Never mind. Okay, it's perfect. Wow. Of course, getting power into here is trivial as well. That's pretty cool, but I guess maybe the reason that it's not even obvious in the hints that there's a secret heart like this is because it's rewarding people who found such an insane, like, just by intuiting the shape of these shapes that they would have been able to tell that it was capable of making a heart. And I was only like 50% sure about that myself. Of course, if you just say there's a hidden 8 heart, I feel like it's really obvious that this is the only place it could be. But yeah, I think that's it. That's Zero Player. And honestly, I'm not sure that I think this couldn't have been a playable game. It would certainly be a lot more satisfying as a game. There's someone in the comments who did this with a Blender file and a script that could move the files around because the original image was made as a 3D model. Anyway, that was awesome, and I think I'm supposed to say something to end the video. Bye!